Why isn't discrimination against ugly people treated as seriously as other forms of discrimination? I imagine getting people to unite behind being ugly would be incredibly difficult. Who would want to join a group where membership requires admitting that you are incredibly ugly? Could you imagine how this plays out in the courtroom? Plaintiff claims the defendant gave someone else the job because they are better looking than him. So the jury is going to make a decision on whether or not that's true. Because being ugly is subjective. Edit. Because the majority of us globally are subjectively considered ugly. Because it's incredibly subjective. There are two ways you could legislate for this. 1. Have a legal definition of attractive. People with a certain percentage of traits outside of that definition are considered ugly. 2. Pass a law that you cannot discriminate based on appearance at all, and appearance cannot be a factor in any sort of hiring decision-making. Both of these would cause quite a few problems. Because ugly people aren't a group and there's no objective determinator over whether someone is ugly, they also don't get treated as badly as groups like the Jewish or blacks, who have been killed. Ugly is very subjective versus someone's skin color being black. This not only happens with people, but with animals too. Photogenic creatures are way more protected and looked after than not-so-fortunate looking ones. Can't call people ugly. We prefer those with severe appearance deficits. Based on the responses, I see a lot of people trying to say discrimination if people with unattractive qualities isn't a thing, when it absolutely is. It's why intersectionality is a thing. It pretty much says there are a lot of factors that go into discrimination, and it's almost never black or white, as in binary, not skin color. Who's going further in life? A short, overweight, bald, poor guy with low self-esteem, or a beautiful, wealthy, confident black woman? Black women absolutely encounter significantly higher amounts of discrimination to their white male counterparts. But there are other factors that all add up. Tons of gray area and context which is hard to put a framework against. So people rely on simpler constructs and ignore the nuance. Intersectionality. Ugly is subjective. Things like race, gender, age, etc. are more objective and therefore something you would be able to legislate. We like pretty things. That's who humans are. Even babies like attractive people more. There's nothing you can do about it, other than trying to compensate your looks with being interesting and actually having a personality. Plenty of ugly people got the girl because of the ability to make them laugh and being enjoyable or interesting. Good question, and one that Reddit has failed to answer. Can you give an example of what you consider discrimination against ugly people? Because people don't usually identify as ugly. Line up behind me to start though. In my opinion, it's because we're programmed to see ugly people as unhealthy. Especially fat people. Fat and ugly being even worse. And evolutionary psychology would recommend to us at the core of our beings that there's something wrong with that person. Plenty of people have gotten over that and are nice to everyone. But it's got to be reproductive and based on natural selection. Gotta remember though, at a certain age we all get ugly or fat. Attractiveness is for the young people. Then everything becomes a bit different in regards to people's estimation of your worth. But as someone with some serious illnesses, I've found that once you get to be a certain level of sick, people naturally treat you differently. Like maybe, you can no longer reproduce healthy offspring. Current top upvoted answers are just asinine. There are very real and objective aspects of beauty, even if it wholly defined isn't objective. That's no different than race. The only reason why this is the case is because ugly people don't form groups with each other in order to put pressure on legislators. No one wants to self-identify as part of the ugly group. I think a lot of people have hit the nail on the head by saying ugly is subjective. But I think another important reason is that you don't really have a lot of people willing to identify as ugly and create activist groups for it. In order for discrimination to be fought, you need to form a group of people rallied behind specific political goals, and that hasn't happened here. Because people don't want to say that they are being discriminated against for being ugly. Would you admit that you're so ugly that people treat you differently? I'm not sure I would. Give it a generation or two. Interesting topic. You definitely only see attractive people on TV, YouTube. Look at your local news outlets. No overweight women, for example.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.